When someone suddenly disappears from your life, the initial shock and confusion can be overwhelming. It's a profound emotional response, and the person left behind often finds themselves caught off guard, grappling with the abruptness of the change. Humans are creatures of habit, and our relationships become integral parts of our daily lives. When that connection is severed unexpectedly, it creates a ripple of emotional and mental turmoil that is both unsettling and difficult to navigate. The first thing they feel is a sense of disbelief. It's not easy to comprehend that someone they interacted with, relied on, or shared moments with is no longer present. This disbelief often leads to an endless cycle of questions. What happened? Was it something I said, or did I miss any signs? Their minds become consumed by the need to make sense of the situation. The lack of clarity amplifies the confusion as they try to piece together the puzzle without access to all the pieces. In this state of shock, they also become highly introspective, replaying past conversations and interactions to identify any potential red flags or indications something was amiss. They scrutinize even the smallest details, such as a casual comment, a change in tone, or shift in behavior. This process is not only mentally exhausting, but also emotionally draining. The person starts to internalize the situation, believing they are at fault or that they missed an opportunity to prevent the disappearance. This phase of confusion isn't just about searching for answers, it's about the fear of abandonment. When someone disappears without explanation, it taps into a deep-seated human fear of being left behind or discarded. This fear can manifest as self-doubt, with the person questioning their worth or whether they were enough to maintain the relationship. It's an emotional spiral that leaves them feeling vulnerable and exposed. Adding to this turmoil is the sense of disruption to their daily routine. Relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, often create a rhythm in our lives. A sudden disappearance disrupts this rhythm, leaving them feeling unbalanced and unsettled. They may find themselves longing for the familiar comfort of your presence, even in small ways, such as a daily text, a shared laugh, or the knowledge that someone is there for them. As they process this emotional upheaval, the shock can sometimes evolve into denial. It's hard for people to accept that someone they cared about has chosen to step away without any explanation. They convince themselves that it's temporary, that you'll return, or that there's been some misunderstanding. This denial is a defense mechanism, a way to shield themselves from the pain of accepting the loss. During this time, they may also feel a growing sense of frustration. This frustration isn't just directed at you for disappearing, but also at themselves for not being able to understand why. They may feel powerless as the lack of communication leaves them with no way to address the situation or seek closure. This emotional turmoil can lead to a cycle of anger, sadness, and confusion, creating a heavy burden on their mental and emotional well-being. This initial phase of shock and confusion is often the hardest to navigate because it's filled with unanswered questions and unresolved emotions. The suddenness of your absence forces them to confront the fragility of human connections and the unpredictable nature of relationships. It challenges their perceptions and pushes them into a state of emotional vulnerability that they might not have experienced before. In this stage, the person left behind often realizes how much they value the connection. Your presence in their life, even if taken for granted at times, was a source of stability and comfort. The shock of your absence underscores the depth of the bond they shared with you, making them acutely aware of its significance. It's a painful but necessary step in their journey to understanding the impact of your disappearance and ultimately their own emotions. Ending line in the initial shock and confusion of your absence, they begin to uncover truths about themselves, their fears, and the value of what they've lost, setting the stage for deeper introspection and growth. After the initial shock and confusion subsides, the second phase involves an overwhelming sense of self-reflection and questioning. When someone disappears from their life, the person left behind starts to look inward, examining themselves through a lens of doubt, guilt, and responsibility. It's a natural human reaction to assume that their own actions, words, or behaviors might have been the cause, even if there's no evidence to support such conclusions. This introspection often begins with a relentless replaying of events and interactions, They revisit conversations, scrutinize text messages, and analyze past behaviors, searching for any clue that might explain your sudden absence. Even harmless moments can be dissected and exaggerated in their mind as they grasp at straws to make sense of what happened. This mental loop can feel endless as every remembered detail seems to carry the weight of potential meaning. Was it something they said that unintentionally hurt you? Did they fail to meet your expectations? These questions become an almost obsessive thought pattern. As the self-reflection deepens, they may begin to see flaws or shortcomings in themselves that they previously ignored. They might critique their communication skills, emotional availability, or capacity for empathy. This process can lead to a distorted self-image where they focus disproportionately on their perceived faults rather than their strengths. It's a harsh and often unwarranted judgment fueled by the emotional turmoil caused by your departure. This stage also brings a heightened sensitivity to their interactions with others. They may become overly cautious, fearing that their actions or words might push someone else away. This caution can manifest as withdrawal as they retreat into their own world to avoid making similar mistakes. While this might protect them from further hurt in the short term, it can also isolate them, preventing them from seeking the support and understanding they need during such a challenging time. The absence of closure intensifies this phase of self-reflection. When someone disappears without explanation, it leaves a void that's difficult to fill. Without answers, they are left to create their own narratives, which are often skewed by their insecurities and fears. This lack of resolution creates a sense of helplessness as they feel powerless to change or address the situation. They may wish for the chance to have one final conversation, to apologize if needed, or to simply understand your reasons, but the opportunity never comes. In some cases, this stage of self-reflection can lead to feelings of resentment or anger. As they question themselves, they may also start to question you. They might wonder why you didn't communicate your feelings or offer an explanation before disappearing. This sense of injustice can clash with their feelings of guilt, creating a complex emotional landscape that's difficult to navigate. They oscillate between blaming themselves and blaming you, unsure of where the truth lies. At the same time, this self-reflection can also be an opportunity for growth. While the process is painful, it forces them to confront aspects of themselves that they might not have otherwise considered. They begin to identify areas where they can improve, whether it's being more attentive in their relationships, communicating more effectively, or addressing their own insecurities. This growth isn't immediate, and it doesn't erase the pain of your absence, but it sets the foundation for personal development. During this phase, they may also develop a deeper appreciation for the people who remain in their life. Your absence serves as a reminder of the fragility of human connections and the importance of nurturing the relationships that matter. They might make a conscious effort to be more present, understanding, and supportive with their friends, family, loved ones, recognizing the value of those bonds in a way they hadn't before. However, the journey through this phase isn't linear. There are moments of clarity and growth, but there are also setbacks where the pain of your absence resurfaces and the questions and doubts come flooding back. It's a gradual process, one that requires time, patience, and self-compassion. The person left behind learns to navigate their emotions, to accept what they cannot change, and to find strength in their own resilience. This stage of self-reflection and questioning, while difficult, is an essential part of healing. It's a journey that teaches them not only about the impact of your absence, but also about their own capacity for understanding, growth, and forgiveness. In the end, they emerge stronger with a clearer sense of who they are and what they want from their relationships, carrying forward the lessons learned from this painful experience. Ending line through the trials of self-reflection, they discover resilience and growth, transforming the pain of your absence into a journey of self-discovery and renewed strength. When you disappear from someone's life, it introduces a profound sense of uncertainty that ripples through their world. This uncertainty doesn't merely stem from your absence, it grows from the many unanswered questions and the void left behind. The human mind has an incredible ability to fill gaps with assumptions, stories, and theories, and this tendency can lead them down paths of overthinking and emotional turmoil. They become trapped in a cycle of trying to make sense of what seems senseless, and this is where a deep emotional struggle begins. Uncertainty often forces people into a state of vulnerability. When someone they care about disappears without explanation, it challenges their sense of security and stability. They begin to question not only their relationship with you, but also the nature of all their relationships. Are they truly valued by others? Can they trust their own judgment about who to let into their lives? These questions can shake their confidence, leaving them feeling exposed and unsteady. The absence of answers is not just a missing piece in their understanding of the situation, it's a missing piece in their sense of self. In this state, they may turn to external validation, seeking reassurances from those around them. They might share their story with friends or family, hoping for insights or perspectives that can help make sense of your disappearance. This can sometimes provide comfort, but it often leads to conflicting opinions and advice, adding further layers to their confusion. The uncertainty persists, gnawing at their thoughts and casting a shadow over their daily life. Simple routines become tinged with a sense of incompleteness as they carry the weight of your absence everywhere they go. One of the most challenging aspects of this uncertainty is its unpredictability. Unlike other forms of loss, where there is often a clear cause or resolution, your disappearance leaves an open-ended question. It's like an unfinished sentence that they can't stop reading over and over again, hoping for an ending that never comes. This lack of closure makes it difficult for them to move on. They may replay scenarios in their head, imagining different outcomes or wondering what they could have done differently to prevent your departure. The emotional toll of this uncertainty can manifest in various ways. For some, it leads to heightened anxiety as they constantly worry about what went wrong and whether it might happen again in other relationships. For others, it sparks feelings of sadness or even anger directed both inward and outward. They might feel disappointed in themselves for not seeing it coming or in you for leaving them in this state. These emotions can be overwhelming, creating a storm of thoughts and feelings that is difficult to navigate. At the same time, this phase of uncertainty can also push them toward growth and resilience. When faced with the unknown, people often discover their capacity to adapt and cope in ways they never thought possible. They learn to sit with their discomfort, to accept that some questions will never have answers, and to find strength in the face of ambiguity. It's not an easy process, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it's a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure and grow, even in the most challenging circumstances. In their journey through this uncertainty, they may also begin to reevaluate their priorities and values. Your absence serves as a catalyst for introspection, prompting them to consider what truly matters in their lives and who deserves their time and energy. They start to focus on building relationships that are mutual, transparent, and fulfilling, recognizing the importance of communication and trust. This reevaluation doesn't erase the pain of your disappearance, but it helps them create a foundation for healthier and more meaningful connections in the future. As they navigate this uncertain terrain, they also develop a deeper understanding of themselves. They learn to distinguish between what is within their control and what isn't, embracing the concept of radical acceptance. This doesn't mean they forget about you or the impact you had on their life. It means they learn to carry the experience in a way that doesn't weigh them down. They find ways to honor the lessons learned from the uncertainty, using them as a source of strength rather than a burden. Ultimately, the uncertainty you left behind becomes a part of their story, a chapter that, while painful, contributes to their growth and resilience. They emerge from this experience with a greater appreciation for clarity, communication, and authenticity in their relationships. They understand the importance of addressing conflicts and misunderstandings head-on rather than leaving things unsaid. And they carry forward the knowledge that even in the face of the unknown, they have the strength to endure and the capacity to grow. Ending line, the uncertainty of your disappearance shapes their journey, teaching them lessons in resilience, self-awareness, and the power of acceptance as they move forward with renewed clarity. When you disappear from someone's life, the absence often leaves them to face their own unresolved emotions. These feelings can vary widely, but the underlying theme is an intense period of introspection that often accompanies loss or sudden disconnection. When you're no longer there, they are forced to look inward, facing the parts of themselves that they may have been avoiding or denying. Your absence acts as a mirror, reflecting their emotions back to them with greater clarity and intensity. For some, this emotional confrontation begins with guilt. They might ask themselves if they were the cause of your departure, replaying past interactions and analyzing every detail to identify where they went wrong. This process can become all-consuming as they scrutinize their words, actions, and decisions for clues. The more they think about it, the deeper their guilt can grow, creating a heavy burden that lingers over their daily life. They might even attempt to reach out, seeking answers or closure, hoping to ease their internal conflict. Others may experience anger, either directed at you for leaving or at themselves for allowing the relationship to deteriorate. This anger can be a protective mechanism, shielding them from the vulnerability of sadness or regret. It's easier in some ways to feel anger than it is to face the raw pain of loss. They might tell themselves stories that justify their anger, framing you as the villain in order to preserve their sense of self-worth. Yet beneath this anger lies a deeper unresolved hurt that they must eventually confront. Sadness is another common emotion that surfaces during this period. The loss of your presence creates a void, and the sadness fills that space. It's a quiet, persistent feeling that can manifest in subtle ways through moments of nostalgia, through a longing for connection, or through the simple recognition that something valuable has been lost. This sadness might be accompanied by a sense of loneliness as they realize the unique role you played in their life and the irreplaceable nature of your connection. These emotions don't exist in isolation. They often overlap and intertwine, creating a complex emotional landscape that is difficult to navigate. One moment they might feel intense sadness, and the next they might be consumed by anger or guilt. This emotional turbulence can make it hard for them to find stability or clarity, leaving them feeling stuck in a cycle of unresolved feelings. It's a challenging process, but it's also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. Your disappearance might also trigger a period of deep self-reflection. In the absence of external distractions, they are left to confront their own patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. This introspection can be uncomfortable as it requires them to face the parts of themselves that they might prefer to ignore. They may start to question their values, their priorities, and the way they approach relationships. These questions can lead to profound insights, helping them to understand themselves on a deeper level. In some cases, this introspection leads to a process of healing and transformation. They might seek out therapy, engage in self-care practices, or turn to creative outlets as a way to process their emotions. This healing journey is not linear, and it often involves setbacks and moments of doubt. But over time, they begin to rebuild their sense of self, integrating the lessons learned from your absence into their personal growth. Through this process, they may also develop a greater capacity for empathy and understanding. Having experienced the pain of your disappearance, they become more attuned to the emotions of others. They might approach their relationships with greater care and consideration, recognizing the importance of communication and mutual respect. This newfound empathy doesn't erase the pain of your departure, but it helps them to move forward with a more compassionate outlook on life. Ultimately, the emotions stirred by your disappearance serve as a catalyst for change. They force the person to confront their inner world, to face the parts of themselves that need healing, and to grow in ways they might not have anticipated. While the process is undoubtedly painful, it also holds the potential for profound transformation, leading them to a deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the world. Ending line, in the absence you left behind, they find not only pain, but also an opportunity for growth, healing, and a greater understanding of their own emotions and capacity for resilience.